Welcome into the Michigan Football Report, folks. It's signing day. It's a national holiday for some of you. For some people in other businesses, it's a different day. What do we say? It's impeachment day over there, something like that. But it's the chatter around the office say we're going to go through the entire 2020 Michigan football recruiting class. We're going to take a look at where Michigan stands in the national rankings and tell you where they stand in the Big Ten. Let's take a look at the class in general. Overall, 24 players committed. Now, not all of them have signed yet, but overwhelming majority, we have 20 or so have signed at this point at 11 a.m. here on a Wednesday. No 5 stars in this class, but a boatload of 4 stars and quite a few 11 3-stars in this class. So Michigan missed out on the high-end talent. As you'll see later on in the show, certainly don't have the high-end talent compared to Ohio State. So that's going to be a problem when it comes to closing that perceived talent gap between the Wolverines and the Buckeyes. But not a bad class by any means. Let's take a look at where this class is ranking overall. Number 11 in the 24/7 Sports composite ranking. If you're not familiar, that is the combined ranking of where they stand across ESPN, Rivals, which is still around according to sources, and 24/7 Sports own rankings. So the Wolverines number 11 in the composite, 9 in ESPN, 9 in Rivals, and 12 in 24/7's own rankings. So those are the overall rankings. Certainly a lot of SEC schools ahead of Michigan. In the Big Ten, though, only the Ohio State Buckeyes are ahead of the Wolverines. The Buckeyes now, as of this morning, have jumped LSU, now have the number 3 class in the country. I expect them to get another quarterback commit of a top 100 player here in about an hour and a half from now from C.J. Stroud, the quarterback that visited Michigan a couple weeks ago. So there, potential chances, depending on how things go elsewhere, of jumping up to number 2 with Stroud, another 100 player. You never know. Michigan is the number 11 class, right above Penn State at number 12, Nebraska at number 19, and Wisconsin. Just this morning, 3 hours ago, they were outside the top 25. Now they have broken inside the top 25. So a little bit of maneuvering and moving all across the recruiting landscape this morning on National Signing Day. This is the third one of these early national signing periods. The 2018 class in December of 17-19, and now here we are in 2020. But grade Michigan's recruiting class, the 2020 recruiting class, 24 members strong, 13 of those 4 stars. Give me an A, B, C, D, or F. I'm going to go with the solid B myself. Mitchell Rand, see if we can get that in the comments on the page at some point. Grade that in the comments below. Let's get the chat going on this show because compared to some of the other channels here on Chat Sports, this show has lagged when it comes to the live community during these live shows. So give me a grade. A, B, C, D, or F. And before we go through every single recruit in this class, I want to make sure you guys take advantage of these holiday deals for Michigan football. You've watched the show before, you've seen a few of these, but they're still going on. And if you choose that deliver by Christmas Eve option for shipping, you can get them for Christmas morning for the loved ones or a little self-love on Christmas morning. This Michigan football t-shirt, only $15, chatsports.com/blue3 will take you right there to buy it. How about this Michigan football fleece hoodie and all Michigan football gear up to 50% off. And not the knockoff stuff too, a ton of Nike stuff, a ton of Jordan stuff. Awesome deals going on right now. Don't get left out this holiday season. Go to chatsports.com/blue. Let's get that in the comments section if we can. Live chat here on YouTube, on Chat Sports Michigan Football Facebook page, chatsports.com/blue, up to 50% off your holiday sale. Let's start with the recruiting class right at the top with Mr. A.J. Henning. Producer in my ear just signed his letter of intent as we went live, so no concerns there from Michigan's top overall prospect in the country. He's a game breaker, folks. He's one that you'll see later in the show. We'll talk about the players that'll make an impact in 2020. I kind of compare him to a version of Giles Jackson mixed with Donovan Peoples-Jones. He's incredibly fast, but he's not the biggest guy in the world, but certainly not as tiny maybe as Giles Jackson is. He's a fast player, but I don't necessarily think he's going to be typecast as a guy who's always just getting end arounds and bubble screens and things like that. He can take it to the house deep. He can take the ball from the backfield like you saw in that last play. So I think he is going to be an instant impact player next year. I think he'll be in the top 4 or 5 receivers in the rotation, depending on what Donovan Peoples-Jones and Nico Collins do this offseason. So A.J. Henning, 5'10", 183 pounds. I'm sure by the time the season comes around, he'll be up to about 195. Shorter than your average Michigan football receiver over the years. He ain't your daddy's 6'4" wide receiver from the late 90s, but I think he fits the style that Josh Gattis is going for a lot better than some of the guys this year did. How about Braiden McGregor? One of the funniest / creepiest commitment videos of all time when he committed to Michigan, where Michigan's recruiting coordinator, kind of a weirdo himself, jumped up into his arms and wrapped his legs around a 17-year-old boy. I thought it was weird, but a cool moment for McGregor, the McGregor family, when he committed in Michigan's head coach's office and Jim Harbaugh's offense. He is a kid I think has been one of the top salesmen of this class, the one who's recruiting other players out of the state of Michigan, just outside of the top 100. So not going to give Michigan a bump in that top 100 players that you've got on the list. But I think Braiden McGregor, although I don't believe he's going to make an impact next season, I think 3 years down the line, maybe 2 years down the line, he'll be like an Aiden Hutchinson, Chase Winovich style player where he'll potentially get outside linebacker roles, potentially be on the defensive line, depending on how he fits in the defensive coordinator's defense when he is in Ann Arbor. Next up, Blake Corum. I think Blake Corum has the opportunity to get right into the Michigan 3 deep next year from the running back position, and he fits what this offense needs that, frankly, Zach Charbonnet and others that they tried to put back there last year, Hassan Haskins and some others, didn't really fit, which is that home run speed. And from watching his recruiting tape, and I've watched a ton of it, it's really exciting. We've got some of it for you right here. I think Blake Corum fits the mold of a Michigan football running back from a home run perspective. Or not the mold, he fits that mold, but Michigan hasn't really had a running back like that, gosh, in maybe 25 years or so. You got to go back to the mid-90s with Tyrone Wheatley, who was more recently known as Michigan's running backs coach a couple years back. And since Michigan's had a player with track speed at the running back position. Now, a little bit undersized, 5'8", 190 pounds, 180 pounds. So there are some size concerns. You see that will be consistently through this class. This is not the same style of recruiting class in a lot of positions that Jim Harbaugh has brought in over his first 4 seasons in Ann Arbor from a recruiting perspective. A lot of buying into the speed and space, especially from these offensive skill position players. Guys, let's get a Go Blue in the comment. Type Go Blue. It's signing day. There's other YouTube channels, Facebook channels out there trying to get your attention for Ohio State and Clemson and Penn State shows their recruiting class. Make sure these recruits, make sure the football team, they know you're supporting them. Give me a Go Blue in the comments. I want to see that you guys are supporting the Michigan football team as we end 2019 and go into the 2020 season. Let's take a next look up at Kalel Mullings. I say Kalel Mullings. Out of the East Coast, a player that Don Brown had his hand in recruiting, and I think Don Brown's presence in the East Coast has really helped Michigan get these players out of places like Massachusetts, out of the East Coast over the last few recruiting cycles, and I think Mullings is one of those. So I missed the ad break. That's what you're saying, Brett. Okay, we missed the ad break. My fault on that. It's in yellow, guys. It was supposed to be a YouTube ad. Got the producer in my ear yelling at me, Yoder, you're fired. So my bad on that one. But Kalel Mullings, a number 158 player overall in the country. He is the number 4 rated recruit in this 2020 recruiting class. How about Jordan Morant out of New Jersey? And Michigan's had a really great showing in the state of New Jersey over the last few recruiting classes. Jim Harbaugh has focused on that state, and it has paid off. Clearly not every player. Kareem Walker and some others have not panned out. Rashawn Gary, first-round draft pick, all Big Ten player. So New Jersey has played very well for Michigan. Jordan Morant, one of the best players in this 2020 class. He is the number 5 ranked player in Michigan football class. So these are the guys we've gone over right here. A.J. Hennings, Braiden McGregor, Blake Corum, Kalel Mullings, and Jordan Morant. But I want to know from you guys, type Y for yes here. Type N for no. Does Michigan recruit well enough to catch Ohio State? Let's talk about this recruiting class in particular. Is this recruiting class good enough to catch Ohio State? Type Y for yes, it is. Type N if no, you see Ohio State's class, and they've got like 8 players right now, I think it is, ranked higher than Michigan's top ranked recruit, A.J. Henning. So I'm going to go with no as of now, but can Ryan Day develop them? like Urban Meyer did. I think that's still a wait to see. We probably won't know maybe for 2 more seasons until it's mostly Ryan Day's recruits in there in Columbus. Let's go up to number 6 in this class, R.J. Moten, also out of New Jersey. Number 205 in the country, number 18 safety. And you're going to see a lot of safeties in this top few recruits for Michigan. They over-recruited the position. Some of these guys are much more speed players than Michigan's had at the safety position in the past. You pair a few of these guys with Daxton Hill over the next 3 years. If Hill stays around for a senior year, you might have safeties that can stay toe-to-toe with the Ohio State wide receivers that have been burning Michigan safeties for, it seems like, a decade plus. So R.J. Moten, top 200-ish player in the country. You're going to see Michigan with 3 safeties in their top 8 or so players in this recruiting class, and it seems like that was a definite focus of the Michigan football coaches for this class, to get more safeties and more speed at the safety position. How about Andre Seldon? Quote tweeted Andre Seldon yesterday, said, "Talk less," because he has been vocal about his future at Michigan and what they're going to do, what they're going to accomplish. And I appreciate that, but with losing 8 straight games, I'm not sure if Michigan wants to recruit. Shane Morris talked a lot. Haven't won a single game since Shane Morris became a Michigan quarterback back about 7 years ago or so. So Andre Seldon, out of the state of Michigan. Some great film on him out there with him going up against Ohio State's recruit Julian Fleming, who is the number 2 player in the entire country. So I like what Andre Seldon brings, but undersized. Another undersized player in this class, but he's out of the state of Michigan, top 250 player. Got some nice film. He makes plays in the ball. He makes it happen fast, undersized though. But you haven't seen Ohio State's receivers win a ton of jump balls against Ohio State. They really haven't had to. Against Michigan, they really haven't had to. What Michigan's secondary has had to do, which they haven't, is beat guys with foot speed down the field. So Andre Seldon brings some opportunities there for Michigan. Makari Paige is the next player on the list, also out of the state of Michigan. He is a top 250 player in the country, another safety out of Bloomfield. 6'3", is that right? That's pretty tall, so not undersized like some of the other folks in this class for Michigan. Top 250 player. I think he's going to see some early playing time. You've got Josh Metellus going on to his next endeavor, whether it's the NFL or not playing football anymore. We'll see what happens with him in the NFL draft. But Michigan's going to be a little thinner at safety. Dax Hill, Brad Hawkins will start next year, but behind that, a lot of question marks. So potentially you could see Makari Paige out of the state of Michigan, top 250 player in the rotation of the 2 deep, at least starting next season. How about the offensive linemen? We finally get some of the big uglies in there. So a lot of skill position players, both on offense and defense at the top of the class. Now you got Zak Zinter, offensive guard out of Massachusetts. Don Brown's ties over there paying off once again. Top 300 player, the number 11 guard in the country is Zak Zinter, and he's the highest graded offensive lineman coming in for the Wolverines in this class. So you see you got R.J. Moten, Andre Seldon, and Makari Paige in the secondary out of the state of Michigan, and then Zak Zinter out of the East Coast. So when I ask you guys this question, I've been following recruiting for about 20 years or so. Who is the most memorable recruit in Michigan history for you? Who is the guy, whether Michigan got him or not, who is the most memorable Michigan recruit that this team has ever got or not got that you have followed? I think in a lot of ways, Ronald Johnson, who didn't go to Michigan, was one for me. I think it was like the 2007 class. Chad Henne in the 2004 class was certainly a big one, given he was a top 5 or 6 player in the country. I also think Ryan Mallett was a very intriguing recruiting battle. And more recently, Jabril Peppers in the 2014 class. So I've got a few there. And I asked you guys, who is the most memorable Michigan football recruit to you? Make sure we tell you guys about these deals. Got some awesome deals going on with you with our merch partner, the Michigan Football Jordan Brand number 4 jersey is on sale right now, guys, for only $75, 25% off. Go to chatsports.com/blue4. Get in your memory, blue 4, the jersey color, the number, chatsports.com/blue4. All kinds of Michigan football gear, including this ladies fleece hoodie, up to 50% off. There's still an opportunity, if you choose the right shipping option, to get these in your mailbox, delivered to your door by Christmas Eve, so you can wrap them up for your loved ones. have a nice Christmas morning with Michigan football. Funny story about gifts. Saw a Christmas present on my tree. It says, to James from Jim Harbaugh. So I'm not sure if Jim Harbaugh actually sent it or not, or if someone's playing a little Santa Claus trick on me, but it does exist. You can check my Twitter account on Christmas morning for photo proof of that. Jaylen Harrell, the most recent commit to Michigan out of Tampa, Florida, Berkeley Prep. They sent a five-star offensive lineman to Ohio State a couple years ago, Nicolas Petit-Frere. Remember that guy? And I thought Michigan had a chance at him. Didn't end up getting him. Apparently, a couple years later, with Michigan practicing in Tampa at a bowl game a couple years ago, doing those recruiting camps, made connections, got a late commit from a top 300-ish player, four-star in Harrell. A nice addition to the class. I don't think a lot of people had expected. So nice addition to the class there with Jaylen Harrell. Next up, Osman Savage. We talked about this here in the office yesterday. With a name like this, Osman Savage, out of Maryland, and the high school he goes to is producing a ton of players, a ton of big-time players, and a lot of them are filtering over to Michigan with the ties of their head coach being a former, admin assistant under Michigan. If Osman Savage does not become a big-time player at Michigan, that is just a waste of an amazing name. So he's an outside linebacker, 2020 recruit, top 300 player, but still a four-star player. Let's go up to our next player on the list, Jeffrey Persi, offensive tackle out of California, just outside the top 300. He is still listed as a four-star player. He's the second to last four-star of Michigan's 13 four-stars we've got on the list. So the second offensive lineman on this list, you've got Persi here, and then, of course, Zak Zinter that we mentioned here just a few minutes ago, number 319 in the country. Last but not least from the four stars is Roman Wilson. Got some awesome footage out there. If you haven't checked it out, go check out Roman Wilson's footage. I don't necessarily think that he is going to be an instant impact player next year. I think he needs to refine some things in the way he runs routes, refine his game a little bit. I think A.J. Henning certainly has the bigger opportunity from the wide receiver perspective, but Michigan's added two speed and space four-star receivers in this class. You see there with Henning, and now here with Roman Wilson. Now, he hasn't signed his letter of intent yet, but we are time zone experts here at Chat Sports, and we can assure you that he has not woken up yet because it's only 5:17 a.m. Hawaii time where Roman Wilson lives. So those are the end of the four stars from Michigan with Roman Wilson. Now let's kind of go off Wilson and go into the 3 stars. So stars are a thing for recruiting. People really care about them. No 5 stars is bad. Much 4 stars good. 3 stars. Now, if you think back to the 2018 class, underrated class. Harbaugh's worst class outside of the 2015 blended class with Brady Hoke. But hasn't it turned out to maybe be his second best class since the 2016 one? You've got Hassan Haskins. You've got Bell. You've got a bunch of different players. What's his name? The linebacker. I'm just forgetting at this point. Cam McGrone. Just like, Yoder, what are you doing here? But that class is turning out to be a lot better than expected. You've got Aiden Hutchinson out of that class. You've got Jalen Mayfield out of that class. That class was the number 22 class in the country, right? So clearly Harbaugh's worst class, and before this year, his only full class that was outside of the top 10. But I think that might end up being his best class behind the 2016 class that produced Devin Bush and Rashawn Gary and a host of other players. 2017 class, number 5 in the country, kind of disappointing. Got a few stars, but a lot of missed opportunities from that class. Let's take a look at Nikhai Hill-Green. Out of the same high school that we talked about for Osman Savage, St. Francis Academy in Maryland, 3-star, number 380 in the country. My eyes are going bad on me. I got screens in front of me, guys, so I'm going to have to squint every once in a while. Exciting player, outside linebacker. I don't think he's going to make an impact next year, but could he be an impact player 2-3 years down the road? I think only time will tell. How about Matthew Hibner? He's out of the state of Virginia, a tight end commit. Some nice film. Just outside the top 400, just outside of 4-star range. He's number 14 tight end in the country. Reminds me of a little bit of a poor man's Jake Butt in a lot of ways. Not taking a slight at him. I don't think he has the athleticism from what I've seen that Jake Butt had at the same age. But he's won 2 years down the line, especially with Mustafa Muhammad transferring out. He could be in the 2 deep by his second year in the program. So that is the number 15 commit on this list. Before we get to the rest of the class, guys, I want to make sure you guys subscribe to the Michigan Football Report. We've got over 100 people watching right now, an unprompted, unannounced show, so appreciate that. We've got daily videos. We've got rumors and news and live chat and Q&A like you guys have now. So you might get hit with an ad break here on YouTube. While you do, just scroll down below the video and hit that subscribe button. Let's take a look at Reece Atteberry. Out of Colorado, Aurora, Colorado, number 435 in the country, a top 10 player, though, at his position. OC, offensive coordinator. For some reason, these recruiting class services still list center as OC, like there's a DC out there as a defensive center. I think that was the case when defensive lines were 6 deep trying to stop the 3-yard cloud of dust. But he's a center. He's not an offensive coordinator candidate or anything like that. But Reece Atteberry, another offensive lineman for Michigan, top 10 in his position. I think he could be in the 2 deep by probably his 3rd year on campus. Let's take a look at William Mohan out of Brooklyn, New York, Erasmus Hall, number 456 in the country. He's an athlete. I'm guessing he'll end up on the defensive side of the ball. 6'1", 195. It screams big cornerback in this defense, safety. Potentially, if he bulks up, he can move to a Viper position, but I think his position won't be decided until he is on campus there in Ann Arbor. So these are the players we've just gone through. Number 380, number 414, 434, and 455 with William Mohan, the 3-star athlete. How about Cornell Wheeler out of West Bloomfield, Michigan, number 457 in the country, top 20 at his position, inside linebacker at 6'1", 220. Watching his tape, he's fast, but where Michigan's slated, you look at the linebacker depth chart over the next couple of years, what they brought in the 18 class, 19 class, I don't see him making an impact next year, likely redshirt candidate. And maybe again, special teams in the 2 deep, 2.5, 3 deep by his 2nd year. Will compete for a starting job by his 3rd year on campus. Next up, we got Aaron Lewis, defensive end out of New Jersey, number 458 in the country, so still in the top 500, not too bad there. Not a candidate from what I've seen to play next year. Seems a little bit like a depth ad. You've got some bigger fish to fry at that same position in this class. So probably like the 3rd in the pecking order from defensive line perspective or defensive end perspective in this recruiting class. So he'll have perceived talent battles to address once he gets to Ann Arbor. How about Eamonn Dennis, also out of Massachusetts? It's kind of a theme. You've got New Jersey, you've got Massachusetts, very heavily involved in this class. Just as of the top 500, Worcester, Massachusetts, 5'10", 173. I think he also ends up on the defense side of the ball, cornerback, but when I've seen of his film, he could be a guy who matures into a nice kick punt returner, potentially a slot receiver in Josh Gaddis's offense. Kris Jenkins is next up on the list, 6'4", 239, out of Maryland. Another Maryland, New Jersey, Massachusetts. Maryland, New Jersey, Massachusetts. A lot of the East Coast. And I know you guys probably have different thoughts than I do on a lot of this stuff, but I actually am not a huge fan of putting so much of the recruiting emphasis on East Coast. I think Michigan's missing a lot on what's made them great over the last 50 years. They're missing out on Ohio and Pennsylvania. Guys who love the Big Ten rivalries, guys who know about Michigan, Ohio State. So one slight irk that I've had with Jim Harbaugh is not focusing on Ohio State, not focusing on Penn State. You go back to Lloyd Carr, you even go back to Brady Hoke, they really, really took care of business when it came to recruiting those states. So here's the recruiting class: AJ Henning, Braiden McGregor, Blake Corum, Kalel Mullings, and Jordan Morant. Jaylen Harrell, or RJ Moten, Andre Seldon, Makari Paige, and Zak Zinter. Jaylen Harrell, Osman Savage at number 307, Jeffrey Persi, the offensive tackle position, 4-star. Roman Wilson, hasn't signed yet, but he doesn't know why he's still sleeping. Nikhai Hill-Green, Matthew Hibner, the 3-star tight end. Reece Atteberry at center, and William Mohan, the 3-star athlete. Cornell Wheeler, Aaron Lewis, Eamonn Dennis, and Kris Jenkins to round out the players that we have discussed thus far. I got a few more coming up in the class. Micah Mazzccua, I had to look that up and Google it, have Google pronunciation tell me how to pronounce his name. Offensive guard, depth guy, will struggle to he'll have to develop based on the other players Michigan's going to have in front of him and in their perceived recruiting talent. Nick Patterson's an interesting one, right? Because Nick Patterson is Shea's brother, tight end out of San Antonio, where his family is relocated. He hasn't signed his letter of intent yet. And as of, it's 11:24 East Coast time. So keep an eye on Nick Patterson. I believe there's a strong chance he doesn't end up with this recruiting class. Now, I kind of hope he does. It's cool to have the Patterson family. It'd be nice to have Shea show up for a game on campus, whatever it is. But there have been some rumblings that maybe Nick Patterson wasn't right for what Michigan wanted to do on offense. The offer still was extended and was out there, so he gets maybe a little more interest from other schools. I'm not sure, but he's still taking visits. Took a visit as recently as this past weekend to Memphis when I read. And so don't be surprised if Nick Patterson is not a part of this class. Gaige Garcia, though, the last player on the list. Interesting one because he's got some really nice tape at the running back position. Also a very, very high-end wrestler at 5'10", 205. Kind of reminds me of True Wilson, just how he approaches the game. Great blocker, tough to take down, but outside the top 2,000 total players. He's not even the top players at his position out of Pennsylvania. So they get a Pennsylvania recruit. Shout out to Jim Harbaugh for that. But Gaige Garcia, interesting player. May also wrestle at Michigan. Be interesting to see what becomes of his career as a Wolverine, because I think he's the kind of guy that works his butt off from what I can tell, puts his all into everything, but probably is lacking the talent that Michigan's going to have at that same position throughout his time in Ann Arbor. So that's the 24 players of this Michigan football recruiting class. Let's take a look. Let's got a producer in my ear, up-to-the-date rankings, and nothing's changed. Okay, composite the number 11. ESPN's got Michigan's class at number 9, Rivals number 9, and 24/7 Sports, the biased media that's just trying to take Jim Harbaugh down, those crooks over there, rank him at number 12, hurting the entire class. Some breaking news in my ear, though. Here we go. Ohio State, still number 3. Wisconsin has now dropped out of the top 25, giving the Big Ten only 4 teams inside of the top 25 in this recruiting class. So that's a pretty interesting development. They potentially have a chance to jump back in, of course, depending on what happens elsewhere. But nevertheless, only 4 teams in the Big Ten in the top 25 for this recruiting class. I want to make sure you guys take a look at these sale items. The Michigan football shoes, chatsports.com/blue shoes. Normally $130 on sale right now for Christmas, $100. Look, you give this gift to someone in your family for Christmas, you just won the next month, okay? They owe you big time, so don't miss out on those. Also, tons of Michigan football gear, including this women's fleece hoodie on sale up to 50% off. We try and hook you guys up. Make it easy. Chatsports.com/blue is the way to go. We've got a bunch more content coming up for you guys, a bunch more segments here in this show. Don't say segments, Yoder, including your questions coming up in a moment. But I want to ask you before we move on to the live recruiting Q&A, who is Michigan's player of the decade? 2010 through 2019. I put this on Twitter a week ago or so, and it was a pretty strong consensus that it was Denard Robinson or maybe Devin Bush. And I think it's pretty fair to say. I don't know if I have a great argument for anybody else. The only knock on Denard is, the winning aspect of it. Had a 7-6 season his first year starter, 11-2 beat Ohio State, but then a 5-loss season, 2012, where he got hurt and didn't finish the year as the starting quarterback. But answer the question below, who is your Michigan football player of the decade? Let's get into some Michigan football live Q&A. Fire up the comment section. If you want to get the producer attention, use hashtag Michigan in your comment. Want to take some questions to get started. I got one coming in from Instagram from Willy Wonka 36. Obviously his given birth name, I'm sure. Is Darian Green-Warren a lock? If you're not familiar with him, cornerback out of California, visited Michigan recently, and as of we went live 29 minutes and 12 seconds ago, he is slated to announce in early January at one of the All-Star games. A lot of the recruiting analysts, the guys who call 17-year-old boys up for a living and ask them what they're doing this weekend, they're all putting him to Michigan over the last few days. So I'm just going to take the word for it. I have no real inside info on this. The tea leaves are trending that way, and that's what it seems like. So you might have a big-time addition to this class, a top 250-ish player with Darian Green-Warren, but won't count against this early signing period and where Michigan finishes. But when the final rankings come out in February, could him and maybe another player, who knows, jump Michigan in the top 10? It is possible. But use hashtag Michigan to get your questions up. If you guys want your questions on screen, make sure to use that hashtag Michigan so it pops up right to the producer. They can see it. We can put it on screen. How about Cooter 12? Who is the top recruit we have in this class? It's a good question. Obviously, A.J. Henning is the top-rated recruit, but I like Blake Corum as my top recruit, as the one we'll go look back to in 3 or 4 years. It says, hey, that guy is a superstar. He should have been ranked higher than 119 in the country, number 12 running back. I think he has a chance to be the first All-American skill position player Jim Harbaugh has had at this school. He certainly hasn't been able to do it with the high-level 5-star and high 4-star players that he's had in Shea Patterson and Donovan Peoples-Jones. Certainly Kareem Walker didn't work out. Nico Collins. So Blake Corum fits what I think Josh Gaddis, if he sticks around and Michigan keeps this offensive philosophy going, I think he fits the system and has the talent from a speed perspective to make it happen with Michigan's offense in the future. So I think Blake Corum, my number one recruit in talent-wise in this class. Coming in from Mitchell Renz, what state do we need to recruit better from? It's very simple. It's 4 letters. Take a sip of water as I let you guys think about it. It's 4 letters. Ohio. O-H-I-O. They yell it out. They were making my ears bleed the fourth quarter of the game on November 30th by taking over Michigan Stadium. But look, you think back to the 90s, and I sound like OK Boomer here. Back in the 90s, Dylan Tippett made fun of me yesterday for being born in the 80s and knowing who Ice-T was. So maybe even going back to the 90s here. You had 2 Heisman Trophy winners in 6 seasons from the state of Ohio, Desmond Howard, Charles Woodson, that didn't go to Ohio State. They had a pretty damn good record. I think Desmond was 3-1 against Ohio State, Charles Woodson 3-0 against Ohio State. So recruit Ohio better. Steal some of the guys that are just begging to go to Ohio State, and maybe you can convince them you're not a number 2 option at this position, you're a number 1. Come there, they're motivated to stick it to the school that maybe didn't prioritize them, their school and their home state. So thanks for the question, Mitchell Renz. How about Trey Stoneking? Now, just for the we're live studio audience here, Trey Stoneking is my guy. Trey, I feel like you're my boy, always retweeting my stuff, always putting in comments on Instagram, so really appreciate it, Trey. You are the man. If you watch this video, screenshot me saying this, record it, toss it on Twitter, IG. I'll make sure to retweet it. You see Blake Corum playing next year or redshirting with Haskins, Charbonnet, and Evans, in the depth chart behind him. If you missed it, Chris Evans, Michigan's, frankly, backup running back for 3 years, 16 through 18. I was surprised when I saw his stats. He's got like 1,700 yards rushing in his career, much higher than I think I remember in my mind. Suspended for the year, academic reasons, was reinstituted by the school and the football program. I think Chris Evans is going to play more of a wide receiver role or, jack of all trades. You might see him get some carries. You might see him out at wide receiver. You might see him in there as a potential wildcat. So with that happening, I think Blake Corum, with the lack of development of other positions, other younger players, I think Corum moves into the number 3 role. Hassan Haskins, Zach Charbonnet battle out for the starting role. But I do think by middle of the season, you will see Blake Corum getting at least 8 to 10 carries every game, get involved in the passing game, use that speed and space that Josh Gaddis, I don't believe, felt that he had on the roster this year in 2019. How about Mish Girl 96? Thanks for the question. James, thanks for sharing the Michigan holiday sales. I bought my boyfriend, BF, as the kids say, boyfriend, a jersey, hat, and t-shirt for under $100. You rock. Thanks for the question, Mish Girl. That's a pretty dang good deal, and I guess the math, 12, 15, that makes a lot of sense. So let's pull that stuff up. Make sure that people see it. Awesome Michigan football jacket right here, the quarter zip. Chatsports.com/blue5. Might have been what Mish Girl 96 was looking at. She ended up going with the jersey. All Michigan football sale items. The jerseys, shoes, hats, sweatshirts, t-shirts as low as $12. Can be found chatsports.com/blue. Don't go to Dick's Sporting Goods and pay twice as much money for the same product. You can go click 2 buttons and get shipped to you for up to half off. Chatsports.com/go-blue. Mitchell, toss that in the comment. Not the same Mitchell that just asked the question, though. Different guy altogether. How about IT56er? How can we compete with recruiting classes like this? I mean, I get what you're saying. You're saying, how can we compete with Ohio State? getting another top 5 class. Now, they had an outlier class. They went through a coaching transition last year. They were outside the top 10. I think they were something like 15. But basically, Ohio State, of the guys that'll be on the field next year, are putting together a lot of top 2 and top 3 classes. That 17 class, one of the best of all time. That 18 class, one of the best in the history of the Big Ten. A little drop in 19, and now they're back up there inside the top 3 for 2020. And I get what you're saying. I don't think you're going to unless you find some diamonds in the rough, or if Ryan Day can't develop players and keep things rolling like Urban Meyer has over the past 7-8 seasons. So I think it's a good question. I don't know what Michigan is going to do if they're not getting 2, 3, 4, 5-star players. 2, 3, 4, 5-star players in this class. I'm not sure how they're going to compete with Ohio State. Bring in, they're ranked number 2 in the country, number 3 in recruiting. It is pretty, the train tracks line up, folks. Top recruits equal top players in the field. It is not guesswork. It's become a science. Michigan, number 11 class, where are they ranked right now? The CFP, where they're ranked 14, 12, something like that. It's look at these rankings. Other than Wisconsin, everyone is, and Nebraska maybe a little bit, but they're basically lined up with what they're doing on the field. So if Michigan wants to go 12-0, 11-1 in the regular season, beat Ohio State, either some of these guys have to be 5 stars or play like 5 stars, or Michigan's going to have to start getting better in the future. Bo Stevens asks, Blake Corum and A.J. Henning will come in immediately and establish they are 2 of Michigan's best skill position players. I'm with you there. Great question. Nice analysis, because I think it's a really good observation. The one thing about the offense Michigan put on the field this year is Shea Patterson struggled clearly the first half of the year. But over the last 5.5 games, 6 games, and definitely the last 3, let's just count 2.5, not the second half against Ohio State, but maybe Michigan State, Indiana, Ohio State. That's the best 10-quarter stretch of a Michigan quarterback passing yards and efficiency and touchdowns in the history of the school. If you lose Peoples-Jones and Nico Collins, maybe they go pro, maybe they don't. I think they'd be better suited to come back next year, but I think that's up to them. I don't think you lose that much, because I think you give the opportunity for younger players who fit the system, which is basically running about 6 yards up and streaking across the field as fast as you can. That fits the system a lot better than Peoples-Jones, Collins, and Tariq Black, who will now transfer, ever have. Jacob Mackinnon coming up. Why can't Harbaugh and Michigan consistently land 5-star talent? So I'm going to put on 2 hats here for you, Jacob. Hat number 1 is local media guy who works for MGO, Blog, Blob, Rivals, Scout, 24/7, or the Free Press. Michigan doesn't play the shady game. Only Ohio State and Georgia can get those kind of players because they play by different rules. That's that hat. Okay, cool hat. Throw that hat out because that's idiot hat. Let's throw on the right hat, okay? That is the James Yoder, the truth hat. I'm going to drink some of my truth serum. I'm going to tell you why. It's because they just don't see Michigan playing the kind of football that they find exciting, 1, and they don't see Michigan in the playoff. 33 5-stars, I think was the number, in the college football, or in the 24/7 composite rankings. 33 players are 5 stars. 22 of them went to 5 schools. And I don't have the exact 5. I'm remembering this from something I read this morning. It's Ohio State, Clemson, Alabama, Georgia. I'm missing one? I think that's it, right? Ohio State, Clemson, Alabama, Georgia. LSU. There you go, right? That's basically the top 4 classes. So Clemson, 6 5-stars. Alabama, 4 5-stars. Clemson 6, Alabama 3, Ohio State 2, LSU 3, Georgia 2. Okay? 22 of the 33. Notre Dame has a couple in there too. So it's very highly concentrated. But what do those teams say? What do you say about those teams? Clemson, Alabama, Ohio State, LSU, Georgia. They make the college football playoff. They win big games on the road. They run, except for Georgia, exciting offenses, right? I don't know how Kirby Smart's been able to continue to do it, because his offense reminds me of, frankly, Jim Harbaugh's before the last few games of this year. So Michigan just isn't as exciting, and they've got all the advantages in the world. They've got Jordan Brand. They've got all the sneakers. They've got the biggest stadium. Some would say the best helmet and some of the coolest uniforms. And maybe the second most famous coach behind Nick Saban. Why can't they? They just haven't figured out how to play exciting football that gets 5 stars excited. Next question up from Cruisin' 26. Why can't Harbaugh get a QB? Good question. answer for you. J.D. Johnson, we're not calling him a part of this class, even though for some reason 24/7 is still listing him, which is a failure on their part because he's not playing football. He's medically retired. But Jim Harbaugh's got high-level quarterback commits. They haven't been 5 stars, but Shea Patterson came in as a transfer as a 5-star. I think it's just the philosophy that the Michigan offense has run. And I don't know why, because if you go back to Stanford's his final year there, you go back to when he was at San Diego, Jim Harbaugh had exciting offenses. Andrew Luck was throwing for 3,500 yards and 30-plus TDs, and I'm not sure why Jim Harbaugh didn't try and institute an offense that took advantage of his quarterback skills in the Michigan. All right, breaking news here. We have breaking news, or is this a question? No, this is a question. Okay, cool. It's a statement. Got it. And this is probably true. I thought it was breaking news. We're still 40 minutes away from, I think it's just a statement coming from Anthony Williams. Appreciate it, Anthony. CJ Stroud is a Buckeye. Absolutely not disputing that's going to be the case. Coming up here at 12:30 Eastern, 11:30 Central, 9:30 Pacific, where he is at, and 6:30 for Roman Wilson out there in Hawaii. Zaddy Looney, dude, you're such a homer. God, I hope I'm not coming across like that because I'm not. But look, the reason I get to be a homer is because I'm the guy on screen. I can say whatever the hell I want. So Zaddy Looney, whether you're a Michigan fan, an Ohio State fan coming here to troll, okay, I chose to be the leader of the Michigan football fan base, and as such, I can be the biggest homer that I want. So thank you for your participation. Good day, sir. All right, guys, grade the Michigan football 2020 recruiting class. Give me an A, B, C, or D below in the comments. A, B, C, or D. As I said earlier, I'm giving this bad boy a B, but I want to know from you guys, A, B, C, D, or E, or F. Did I say E? I said E. Okay, I got an E once on a grade. Blew my dad's mind. He couldn't believe it that I got an E on a report card one time. All right, BetDSI is our sponsor, guys. If you haven't got started with them, go to chatsports.com/bet. Promo code GOBLUE, 120% deposit bonus. I'll repeat myself, chatsports.com/bet. Promo code GOBLUE, 120% deposit bonus. You put in $100 to get started betting on sports. You have an extra 120 for a total of 220 sitting there in your account to bet on. It gives you the opportunity to lose a couple games, still be ahead above the balance you put in there. So go get going. Play now. Bet on sports. Chatsports.com/bet. Promo code GOBLUE. Preston Prosper. Awesome name. Not going to get top 5 classes until we beat Ohio and win the Big Ten. And exactly right. There's no doubt about that. There's no questioning that that's the case. And I think it's a good observation by you, Preston. I think it's a prosperous observation. And why is CJ Stroud going to Ohio State, given that they've got another quarterback, Jack Miller, that's been committed to them for over a year? Why is CJ Stroud going to go to Ohio State when they've got one of the top 3 quarterbacks, a 5-star coming in the 2021 class? Is because he feels if I win the job, I'm going to be put in the best position to be a All-American, a pro football player. And I don't think the same can be said at Michigan. You win the job. Is Shea Patterson getting drafted in the first 3 rounds? I don't know. Justin Fields will probably be a top 3 pick in the whole NFL draft next season. Guys, the odds are out, and they really haven't changed, which is surprising. So if you want advice from me as of now, and Michigan may surprise me, right? They may surprise me, but I would put money on Alabama, okay? Because 7.5-point spread, I don't understand how Michigan's going to compete with Alabama. They're missing 2 players I saw, one in the secondary, third-team All-American cornerback whose name's escaping me at the moment. But those are the odds there. Michigan is a 7.5-point underdog. Over-under is now bumped to 59. But I want to give you guys this opportunity. Predict the score below. Michigan, Alabama, Trevin Diggs. Thank you from the stats and research department. Trevin Diggs is the player from Alabama, cornerback. They've got another starter on defense sitting out. Frankly, the only position Michigan has an advantage in this game, to my early assessment, is the quarterback position. With Tua being out, Shea Patterson certainly has an advantage over their quarterback, Mac Jones. So that's the question there. We've got more Michigan football live for you right now. I'm James Yoder, the host of the Michigan Football Report. We've gone over our Michigan Football 2020 recruiting class. Now, let's jump into the 6 players from the 2020 recruiting class that I see making the biggest impact on the field as true freshmen in 2020. Let's start off with Blake Corum. who I believe will be in the 3 deep at running back. Might get some opportunities on special teams, but I think we'll get a lot of playing time early on and throughout the 2020 season. He is an undersized running back, but he has game-breaking speed, something that Michigan has long lacked at the running back position. You go back to even the early 2000s, the late 90s with Anthony Thomas, the A-Train. You go into the early 2000s, Chris Perry, who won the Doak Walker Award. None of those guys really had game-breaking speed. Certainly wasn't Mike Hart. And since Mike Hart, you've just had a rotation of running backs for Michigan. None who I felt at any given time could be the fastest player on the field going against any team, even the fastest player on Michigan's team themselves. So Blake Corum is my top choice for an instant impact freshman. I think he'll make the biggest impact next year, and I think he'll potentially be Michigan's biggest big playmaker, the guy who can break off 40 and 50 and 60-yard runs every few games that Michigan has woefully lacked. I mean, you went half the season in 2019 without getting a one run over 20 yards from the running back position. So Blake Corum, my top choice for Michigan football 2020 freshman to make a big impact on the field. AJ Henning is my second most impactful freshman on the field in 2020 for the Michigan Wolverines. He's a player who committed over the summer. Some people say it was a surprise commit, but I think the tea leaves are going that in a lot of ways. And I think Josh Gaddis's offense was the reason that Michigan was able to get him to commit in the first place, among a bevy of other suitors who wanted him to come play wide receiver or potentially running back, because you see he got a lot of playing time at running back in high school. And the offense that you saw on the field over the last few games, especially getting Giles Jackson and Mike Sainristil towards the end of the year, Ronnie Bell throughout the whole season, those guys, more plays, more stats, more catches, and play in the return and the running game. That is the reason that AJ Henning will make an impact next year. I believe that's also the reason why he chose Michigan and chose to stick with Michigan in the first place. He's out of the state of Illinois, so certainly could have gone to Notre Dame. Certainly could have gone to a bevy of other programs. So Michigan and their offense would be the most likely to put him in a position to make big plays and be an instant impact player potentially from game one as a true freshman. I want to give you guys this opportunity to grade Michigan's 2020 recruiting class A, B, C, D, or F. You might get an ad break here on YouTube, so if you do, go downstairs, go down below in the comments or the live chat, A, B, C, D, or F for Michigan's 2020 recruiting class. RJ Moten is my third highest likely to recruit to make an impact on the field in 2020 for Michigan out of this recruiting class. He's out of New Jersey, the number 205 player in the country, number 18 safety, but I think he's got the right size and speed to make an impact on the field for the Wolverines. I think he's going to be a lot like Daxton Hill, where he'll be on special teams the first 3, 4, 5 games of the year, then start getting some serious reps in the secondary once the season kind of goes into the Big Ten, 5th, 6th game throughout the year after he's got his feet wet, running Don Brown or maybe another defensive coordinator's scheme in Ann Arbor. 4-star safety, but you see there, which is why compared to some of the other safeties, I thought he has the opportunity to be on the field more, is he is a heck of an athlete. He played a bunch on offense, and it's kind of tough to even find any film of him on defense in high school. I'm sure some senior year film here and there. I was looking through his sophomore year stuff, his junior year stuff. It's almost all on offense. He's the best athlete I believe Michigan has coming in on defense, and as such, that's what Michigan needs to be able to compete with Penn State and certainly with Ohio State. So RJ Moten, my third highest likely freshman to make an impact in the field in 2020. The Michigan football Nike shoes are on sale, folks. Chatsports.com/blue shoes. We make it easy for you. Go to the link right now. We'll put it in the live chat, and if you're watching this on demand later, it'll be below in the comments. Chatsports.com/blue shoes. $30 off right now. Only $99.99. You can get this for yourself. Get this for a loved one for Christmas. You will not regret it. You'll win the Christmas holiday season. All kinds of Michigan gear. You got the Harbaugh game day hoodie, this Michigan women's fleece. You've got that cool Jordan skinny M1 that Harbaugh wore his first couple years in Michigan. All on sale right now. Hats, jerseys on sale for $75, the Nike ones. Chatsports.com/blue. all the sale items going on right now, Michigan football for the holiday season. Makari Paige is my next recruit that is most likely to make an impact on the field for the Wolverines in 2020. Now, not the highest rated player we've got coming in at his position, and at 6'3", 182, maybe he's oversized for the position. But from watching his film, reading interviews with him, seeing what he can do on the field, and when you see kind of the ball skills, that's what she says that he has, and keeping up with fast receivers, I think he's going to be one that Michigan is going to rely on when it comes to going up against teams that run 4 and 5 wide receiver offensive sets, or teams that have very high-rated athletic tight ends that can go down the field that have in the past taken advantage of Josh Metellus or Brandon Watson or other players throughout the last 4 or 5 years, and potentially even eternity, when it comes to playing teams that know how to throw the ball. So his athleticism and his size, good combination to get in the secondary. Reminds me a lot of Brad Hawkins, maybe a little bit taller, skinnier than Brad Hawkins, but kind of the same mold from what I've seen. I'm sure other people have different opinions on what they make of Makari Paige, but I believe Makari Paige will make an impact on the field in 2020 for Michigan football. Andre Seldon, the man, if you go out there somewhere on Twitter, I tweeted out a week ago, that shut down Ohio State's, what's the guy's name? Julian Fleming, their top recruit, number 2 player in the country in a camp this past summer. Small guy, 5'8". He is going to have to use athleticism and, intelligence to be able to shut down a player like Fleming in the college game, who's got 6 inches of height and probably 25 pounds on him. But Andre Seldon's athleticism is his best attribute. If he was 5'11", I think he'd have been a top 60, top 50 player in the country, potentially even on the cusp of being a 5-star for the Michigan Wolverines football team. So, out of the state of Michigan, number 16 cornerback in the country. Nothing told me about Michigan's team in 2020 that they had confidence in the freshmen and the redshirt freshmen in the secondary outside of Vincent Gray, from the cornerback position, outside of Vincent Gray, that tells me that a cornerback won't be in the 2 deep from this 2020 class. From all I'm seeing from these players, it's clearly, for me, going to be Andre Seldon. So I think he'll be on the field from potentially game 1 when Michigan gets into nickel and dime packages. So keep an eye out for Andre Seldon in the field for the Wolverines in 2020. Citrus Bowl is upon us, folks. Little over 2 weeks away, right around 2 weeks away. 2 weeks from today, exactly. Man, we're good, at least when we're filming this show. January 1st, 1 p.m., ABC is where you can watch it on television. Or if you're going to the game, I'm sure there's a bar around there that you can go to in the third quarter to drink your sorrows away when Alabama is up by 40 points. Just kidding, guys. Michigan's going to win. But predict the score below. Citrus Bowl, Michigan versus Alabama. Michigan's only position group that I think they've got a distinct advantage is going to be quarterback. So could Shea Patterson be the difference over an inexperienced Mac Jones, who, oh, by the way, did put up 40-plus on a very stout Auburn defense a couple weeks ago. So maybe he's not a 3-star like some people think he is. But predict your score in the comments or in the live chat or the comments section below. Let's take a look at Jordan Morant. Out of Bergen Catholic in New Jersey, a school Michigan's got a lot of players from in recent years. Another safety you're going to see on this list. James, it's a lot of safeties on your top players to commit to Michigan. I didn't do the ad break, didn't I? Dang it. Son of a gun. Well, Jordan Brandt, we're trying something new with saying the show, guys. The producers are in my ear yelling at me, whatever it is. Safety Jordan Brandt, 4-star player out of Bergen Catholic, number 163, number 14 safety in the country. Another player from the safety position, and really the secondary in general, that Michigan is focused on to increase athleticism, increase speed, and increase their ability to defend the offense that Ohio State and potentially others, if Michigan's lucky enough to ever break into the college football playoff, offenses like Oklahoma, Alabama have put on the field where they take advantage of the entire 53 yards across the field and 100 yards down the field. Is those offenses want to take advantage of space, they want to take advantage of athleticism. And if Michigan is running the same kind of defense they've run under Don Brown with the same kind of athletes, they will be continually get burned, give up 50-plus points whenever they face a national championship caliber offense. So, Blake Corum, A.J. Henning, RJ Moten were the first three players we talked about on this list. Also got Makari Paige, Andre Seldon, and Jordan Morant. But I want to ask you guys, which 2020 recruit will have the biggest impact next season? Think about 2019, a lot of freshmen had a bigger impact than I think some of you guys thought. Obviously, Zach Charbonnet, but Mike Sainristil, Giles Jackson, Cornelius Johnson certainly did, Daxton Hill. A lot of true freshmen made a big impact. Quite a few of those guys are going to be starters next year in 2020. So answer the question below in the comments or right now in the live chat. Which 2020 recruit will have the biggest impact next season? Hit the rap horn. I got a deal for you. Deal alert. If you missed it earlier, I want to make sure we reminded you guys. MishGirl96 took advantage of this bad boy. $75 for the Michigan Jordan brand jersey. Number 4, like Nico Collins and James Harbaugh wore back in the 80s. Number 4, only $74.99. Go to chatsports.com/blue4. Chatsports.com/blue4. Also, you'll find hats, t-shirts, hoodies, shoes, up to 50% off. And it's not the cheap Walmart stuff, guys. A ton of Nike gear, ton of Jordan gear. Chatsports.com/blue. Don't wait. Christmas is a week away. Don't wait. Get one right now. Choose the option so shipping will arrive by December 24th. Use hashtag Michigan to get your questions up now. We've gone over the recruiting class. We've gone over your questions in the recruiting class, and I've talked about my high-impact freshman for 2020. Now I want to talk about the Michigan football team in general. So let's start off with a question from Antonio for Life. If the D gets lit up, and I capitalized that actually, he didn't have it capitalized, but I just wanted to say lit up like they did in that show Suits. Again, do you believe Don Brown's job will be in trouble? I actually do. Don Brown and Jim Harbaugh are saying all kinds of nice things about each other at the Shemmy Awards a couple days ago. Don Brown's out there recruiting. Which is, by the way, a really stupid name, I agree, for an award trophy. I get Bo Schembechler, but let's not win the offseason, guys. But if they give 50 points to Alabama, how can you justify him? That's going to be basically every strong offense Don Brown will have faced over a 2-year stretch has ended up in a loss. Notre Dame, Ohio State, Florida, then, of course, Penn State, Wisconsin, Ohio State, and Alabama this year. There'll be 4 losses over 2 seasons where I think for the majority of it, outside of, I guess, Wisconsin, I'm not sure what you're going to do there, but 35 points in the first half for Wisconsin. Ohio State, another 56 burger, averaging 59 points. If Alabama drops 45, 50 points on Don Brown, I think he will not return as Michigan's defense coordinator next year. Question coming in from Corey Novak at Novak_C30 on Instagram. If Michigan beats Bama, would this change people's perception of the season and Harbaugh? Let's take a quick poll from the audience. Harrison Graham, would it change your perception? No? No? Mitch, would it change your... Mitch doesn't know. He doesn't know. Jimmy? No, we got some no's. I think this is groupthink over here, but it would change my perception. It would change my perception that there's some apathy that goes into the program once the Ohio State game's over, like it has for, I think, the last 3 years when you've... Really, there's no reason Jim Harbaugh shouldn't be 4-0 in bowl games. They've never gone up against a team that is better than them. I'm pretty sure Michigan's been favored by double digits, or at least one score, 7 or more, in every bowl game they've been in. So to be 1-3 in bowl games, I think is unacceptable. I think it'd be perception-wise if Alabama is near full strength. I think it would get the offseason would be a lot more fun than doing these shows where we're just doing Jim Harbaugh, hot seat, Don Brown firing, all this different stuff, and which guys are going to leave the program. So it would change it for me. From the outside perspective, non-Michigan fans in the studio audience, they all said no. Question coming in from Ryan Mole. Reminds me of Austin Powers. Mole. What are the possible coaching changes, if any, that could take place, and where are we in terms of how we prepare for OSU, how seriously we take the game? Culture change and OSU awareness. I think Jim Harbaugh, in his heart of hearts, believes that Michigan is preparing for Ohio State to win the game. But the results clearly have not proven out that way. 2015 was a mismatch, but 16 and 17, Michigan was right there. It was all about execution. Michigan didn't execute. Maybe they got a couple bad calls from the refs. But the last 2 years, when some might say the talent level is as close as it's been in a long time, perception-wise, Michigan's coming in the game both years. Last year in the top 4, this year around the top 10. Is that Ohio State, it mattered more to Ohio State. Ohio State's coaches had a better game plan, and Michigan didn't recruit or address recruiting to counteract what Ohio State was going to throw at him. So the fact that Don Brown got 62 dropped on him last year, and oh, by the way, I was there standing right with the Ohio State offense. Urban Meyer went soft. He could have easily scored 7 and then went for 2 and dropped 70 on Michigan. Heard recently he was considering it. They had an offensive lineman who was injured in that drive, so they just downed it. So a culture needs to change. If I were a recruit and I didn't walk into Michigan's athletic facility, Schembecker Hall, and see beat Ohio State all over the place and just focus on it, I would be like, oh, I'm not going to come here and lose 4 games in a row to my rival. I'm going to go to a different school. So I think it's to be seen. It starts with the bowl game. Is Michigan going to show up and win a game, or is Jim Harbaugh going to drop to 1-4? You see that? I think I'm going to make hats. Beat Ohio State again. I'm going to make those hats. Bright red hats. I'm going to send them to Michigan. Make the players wear them. Beat Ohio State again. That's going to be my hat for the Michigan football program. I'm mailing them to you guys. Might get an NCAA violation. Doesn't really matter. Preston Prosper coming in. Hashtag can. I like that. Good use of the hashtags, Preston. Can Dylan throw the football, and has he shown enough passing the ball? He can throw the football. He's had some really nice throws downfield in limited action, but he's not been able to do 2 things. One, not his fault, but hasn't got enough snaps because Michigan just hasn't been as well established on offense as they needed to be to get their backups more playing time in the second half of games. It's only been maybe 2-3 games this year, a couple games last year that he was able to get adequate playing time, and he gets hurt. He's been hurt for almost as many games he's appeared in as a Michigan football player. He's been hurt like 9 games, has appeared in 10 or 11 games, so that's a big concern. Every time he's got playing time against Wisconsin, he gets hurt, right? So I want to ask you guys this question. Who will start for Michigan at quarterback? Game 1, on the road, Washington. Type 10 for McCaffrey. Let's get some 10s or some 5s in the comment. I'm going to go see what you guys think here in the comment section. 10 or 5, 10 for McCaffrey, 5 for Joe Milton. And I told you a couple days ago, I don't think if he loses the job or not, I think Milton's going to stick around for 2020, see what his options are at Michigan, because he's on pace to graduate after the 2020 season, could grad transfer and still have 2 years to start. So I really wouldn't buy him anything if he loses the job in the spring or fall to transfer and just have to sit out somewhere else. He could play at Michigan and still have 2 years somewhere else by way of graduating and going on, much like Jalen Hurts did, Alabama to Oklahoma. But the betting odds, the over-under is going up. Was 54, then 56, now it's 59. But the spread has not changed. Alabama's only a 7.5-point favorite. Surprising to me, maybe the sportsbooks know something that we don't. But as I look at the matchup, Michigan has an advantage at the quarterback position, has been playing better on offense. Alabama down a player in the secondary, an all-American level cornerback. Maybe this is the right play, but what that screams to me is that they think Alabama will win, 34-27, somewhere around that range. If you want to bet on the game, I told, who was that, you, Dylan, the $100,000 loan we did? Took out a line of equity credit at my dad's house. I'm not putting on my assets. Already put it on Alabama at -7.5. So, Dad, if you're watching this, just don't worry about that letter in the mail from the bank about the equity line of credit. I had to put it down in Alabama because I don't think that Michigan can stay within 7.5 points, but I want to be proven wrong. If you want to bet on this game, whether for Michigan or for Alabama, do it with BetDSI. Chatsports.com/bet. Promo code GOBLUE. When you deposit money, you get a big bonus. Don't just sign up for some site and get no bonus. Get the 120% deposit bonus with BetDSI. Question coming in from JT. JT asks, will Michigan ever be elite again? By the way, JT, there's a guy out there that's called JT on Twitter. He always asks if I unblock him because for some reason I blocked him, but I haven't done it yet. If that's you, make sure to comment on this video or DM me or something like that. I'll unblock you, but I haven't figured out if it's a legit guy or not. So I've blocked all the haters, all the losers, and I'm willing to let you in if you're an avid participant in the community. But the question stands. Will Michigan ever be elite again? Yes, because again means in perpetuity. I bet Michigan will win a national title in the history of their program. But in the next 5 years, I've said this recently, there's only 3 ways I see Michigan making the playoff, right? It's if Ryan Day gets hired by an NFL team and Ohio State botches the hire, right? So they get their Brady Hoke, they get their Rich Rodriguez. If they were to get some sort of sanctions that crippled recruiting and they were really down on talent for a short stretch, or if J.J. McCarthy is the next Trevor Lawrence or Tua Tagovailoa, he comes in as a true freshman and is an absolute superstar, best player in college football for a 2 or 3 year stretch. That's how Michigan gets elite. If not, I don't think they can win that game against Ohio State, and as such, 10-2, 11-1 is your best regular season, and every other year going to a New Year's Six Bowl, but certainly not the playoff. Chris Cook, what's going on with the 2 Stanford players who we are looking at? Their names are escaping me now, but I'll pull them up here in a second because we talked about them in our show the other day. I don't memorize every Stanford player, but there's 12 players from Stanford in the transfer portal right now. A couple of them defensive linemen. One is for sure going to be eligible to play next year. The other, and he was a starter. The other one is I'm uncertain on, but I can't imagine a player is going to transfer from Stanford to somewhere else if he's been there for multiple years, if he didn't get his degree, whether it's graduate in 3 years or whatever it is. So I'm guessing if he's in the transfer portal, he'll be eligible next year. But there are a handful of defensive linemen. The 2 most likely, from what I've been told, what I've seen that Michigan's interested in, are 2 Stanford players, one who started 12 games on a, frankly, really bad Stanford team this year. But Michigan definitely cannot ignore the defensive line, the interior defensive line. Javon Swan, the stats and research department, is in my ear. Is that one of them, Dill? We got him in the video, the script from Saturday. If you pull it up, Javon Swan from Stanford's one of those players. We'll get that second name in a minute, but Michigan's gonna make a play at them. I think they got a good chance of getting at least one of them, but we'll see as things go on past the bowl game and into the spring semester. Wolverine bullies. How many huge linemen are we getting? Well, we're getting quite a few offensive linemen, but this is not the class that I think Michigan's got the strength on the O-line. It was last year's class, right? We'll go out kind of scroll through the recruiting class so you can see for yourself. But last year's class, the 2019 class, that brought in 6 offensive linemen, 5 or 4 of those 4 stars or higher, is the class that's going to make or break Michigan's offensive line in the future. Certainly Zak Zinter, not a huge guy. Jeffrey Persi at tackle is maybe the beef of the class. Then you've got the center, Reece Atteberry, as your 3rd offensive lineman in this class. So bring in 3 on top of last year's 6. You've got 9 offensive linemen over a 2-year stretch. And that may not even be enough, honestly. You got also Micah Mazzccua. I apologize about him. Don't want to forget you, Micah. So 4 offensive linemen in this class. I think 3 are Michigan level. Hopefully Micah proved me wrong there. So 10 over a 2-year class period. But that 2018 recruiting class that Jalen Mayfield is a part of, they're kind of, missing some bodies. The 2017 recruiting class already had a couple transfers. So Michigan will be definitely thin at the offensive line position in a couple years, losing 3 this year off the offensive line to graduation, maybe a 4th if Cesar Ruiz were to go pro. So bringing in 4+ is a necessity for Michigan football, basically going forward from here on out. Michigan Football Report has daily videos. If you haven't watched before, if this is the first time you're watching daily videos, we've got rumors and news, and we've got live chats, and we take your questions on air. You might get an ad break here on YouTube. If you do, scroll down, hit that subscribe button so you never miss a video from the channel. Philip Johnston. Mitch, what do you say when a guy doesn't have a picture? Get a picture. Philip Johnston, get a picture. We want to know what you're looking like. True story. If you're better looking, you're more likely to get on screen. Mish Girl 96 is proof of that. When was Michigan ever elite? It's been 20 years. Now, you're right in the fact that Michigan's never been a team to win 3 in the modern era, 3 national titles in a decade, or back-to-back national titles, or anything like that. But I think Michigan was certainly elite for a 40-year stretch from 1969, 1970 through 2007. You had 2 seasons in there with 5 losses or more, right? 1984, 2005, okay? 1984, Jim Harbaugh gets hurt in the 3rd game. They start a redshirt freshman quarterback. Michigan goes 6-6. 2005, you lose 4 of your 5 games by 1 score or less. Nevertheless, that's what it is. So I think they're the most consistent program, and certainly never had down years, had the longest bowl streak, all that kind of stuff. So no, Michigan in the modern football era has never been the most elite team or even a top 3 program. But I think you can honestly say over the last 50 years, Michigan has always been considered a top 10 program. Is that elite? Maybe not. I don't think they're going to get there under Jim Harbaugh, honestly, as far as winning back-to-back national titles like I thought they would in the past, but I guess that's just what it is. And by the way, I've been on the record. If Michigan wants to pay recruits, you just tell me where it's said in the Bitcoin. I am getting down with it. Next question coming in from Mitchell Renz. Do you believe in Harbaugh? Is this like a believe in God kind of thing? I do believe that Harbaugh exists. Yes, I will say yes. I believe he exists. I don't think he's a figment of our imagination. I certainly don't think Harbaugh is what's those things, a hologram like Tupac did at the music festival a couple years ago. So I do believe Harbaugh exists. I'm not a Harbaugh atheist. Thank you for the question, Mitchell Renz. Bo Stevens with another question. If handled properly, Milton's success could become a first-round pick and change the whole perception. I remember Alabama started to embrace wild cards at QB. Milton has it. You say that from Alabama's perspective. Let me give you a little perspective there. Alabama, I think, is on the brink of, they changed their program 2 years ago in the second half versus Georgia in the national title game, and it was awesome, right? Last year, they was one of the best teams in history until they got boat raced and crushed by Clemson, and no one really saw that coming, I don't think, outside of Clemson fans. But now they're in a position where they've changed their identity that's so reliant on quarterback that maybe Alabama could struggle next year. Zach Jones is Tua's little brother, is his true freshman coming in from California. What's that? What did I say, Matt? Zach Jones. I'm not giving the respect to say his real name, okay? Zach, you're not going to get any touchdowns against Michigan, but they become quarterback dependent, and that's fine if you are Ohio State or Alabama and everything you touch from the quarterback position turns to gold. But I think it's still yet to be seen whether or not Alabama's quarterback wizardry will, continue past the Tua era in Alabama. So could Milton break the mold? I hope so. But, I've thought plenty of Michigan quarterbacks are going to be superstars that haven't really come to fruition. Cameron McKinney, why is Michigan not recruiting five-star talent? Well, we talked about it early in the show. But I think the real reason is two things. Recruits don't remember Charles Woodson because they weren't alive when he won the Heisman, and they see Tom Brady as a guy old enough to be their father. So that doesn't really have nostalgia, and Michigan's big-time players in the pros are kind of dwindling off. Now, maybe Devin Bush, Chase Winovich, and some others may change that in the year. So not necessarily seeing the superstars in the pros from Michigan, and you have lost 8 straight to Ohio State. You've lost 3 straight bowl games. Jim Harbaugh kind of seems like a weird guy when you watch him talk. He's not excited. He's not happy, all this different stuff. So the perception from Michigan is it was a school my dad probably thought was sweeter than I do for a 17-year-old. And in a lot of ways, it's not much different than Nebraska. If you're a football player in New Jersey or in Georgia, you're not growing up around the Michigan program every single day of the week. Got some sale items for you guys if you missed these early in the live show, or if you're watching this on demand, the Michigan football Nikes. I'm wearing them right now. Lie, I'm really not, but it'd be cooler if I did. $99.99, $30 off, chatsports.com/blue shoes. We've got hundreds of items: sweatshirts, jackets, hats, jerseys, shoes, socks, visors, if you're that kind of guy, on sale. Chatsports.com/blue. Get going now. Don't wait, because you still can choose an option to get it delivered by Christmas Eve. Wrap it up, put it in a gift under the tree, and make someone's holiday season. Predict the score. Let's see the score predictions from you guys. Let's get it going in the comments section. Let's get it going on the live chat right now. I want to see what you guys have. I think I'm going to give my score prediction right now, all right? I think I'm going to give it right now. I'm going to think about it for a second. I'm going to give it. I'm going with a Michigan win. All right, Michigan win 38-28. 38-28 Michigan win. Shea Patterson probably should be coming back for a year and winning the Heisman, so I can win my money back that I bet on him for the Heisman the last 2 years. But I think Michigan's offense was clicking just enough, and if it was Tua at quarterback for Alabama, I would think they'd score 75 on Michigan. But with Zach Jones at quarterback and all that, I don't necessarily think they're going to have the offensive game plan to take advantage of a Don Brown offense that, quite frankly, if you've got better athletes, is easy to take advantage of. Ohio State has proved that back-to-back seasons. So what did I say? 38? 38-28, Michigan's going to win the game. So go put your money down on that on BetDSI. Get that going. Buy some Michigan football gear for the season. 38-28 Michigan. We're going to keep the show looping, so stick with us. We got a recruiting class recap coming up right now.